Welcome back to Chats with Misha. It's your girl Misha here, and I am back with an astrology chat. Since we have Saturn it went into retrograde on the 13th, and it's there until November 27th. And this video is dedicated to Saturn in the third house because I have Saturn in the third house. So, it's going to be a lot of, growing, right? And going within and reassessing the things that are in the theme of the third house. So if you have third house, Saturn in the third house, you know anybody with Saturn in the third house, most likely it's you because you clicked on the video. You already know that the heavy theme with Saturn is early childhood learning, siblings, your local neighborhood environment. What else is transportation and neighbors and your activities that you may have collected or started doing or learning as a child. And that's pretty much the theme of the third house. The third house is a Gemini house on the zodiac wheel, which is communication. Gemini is all about, ruled by Mercury, which is the communication planet. And so having Saturn in the third house can make communication kind of hard for you. It can make learning kind of hard for you because in this lifetime, you incarnated with having Saturn in the third house, with the lesson of learning how to be disciplined in that area. And me being speaking of me, I'm a part of the collective of the third house and Saturn, scatterbrain, and I don't know, clinically they call it ADHD. But if you're not diagnosed, that's the closest thing I can say. You don't really narrow down one specific subject. You're bouncing around learning a lot of different things. And it's like the master of a lot, the learner of a lot, but the master of none. So you're bouncing around a lot, kind of like the ADHD energy. Cannot focus on one thing. And so your life lesson is to learn to focus on something, to pick one thing and learn it. And that's where you get your rewards from Saturn. Communication. If you have a hard time communicating, your lesson in life is to learn to communicate effectively. And you will become a powerful authority in speaking. Whether you're speaking to your local, you have a local collective that you're helping, some type of sacrifice, some type of, not sacrifice, but a mission that you're on, that you're helping your local environment. You're maybe need to sharpen your speaking to walk in that, to speak to a big crowd, a small crowd, but you have a problem maybe with speaking publicly, getting your thoughts to come down and out, right? And so your life lesson is to learn how to narrow down and learn. Saturn is about showing up. So Saturn is the discipline planet, it's like father time. So you have a long time to master something. So it's like we have to, I'm just going to speak for me. I learn a lot. I like to learn. I like to bounce around. So everything I spoke of is definitely hits home for me. I like to learn a lot of different things. If it catches my interest, I will dedicate a lot of my time to just learning about that subject, and I can teach it as well. So it'll turn around and I can be able to, the way that I do it, because I have Libra in the third house, it's where I can make it digestible for people. So I can learn something and I can explain it in a way that's palatable for my audience, if that makes sense. So sometimes the stuff that I may indulge in learning and just dive in and get all of this information, it may be kind of just hectic, chaotic. It's a lot to take in for one person, right? Where I took it in quickly or with ease or whatnot because I was in just so engulfed in it and I had so much passion about it. I dove into it and I grasped all the information, right? But I can sum it up. I've learned to sum it up and to make it palatable for my audience. So they may not want to learn from A to Z, but I can take from A to Z and give them a nice little package, right? That sums it all up and they can get like the meat and potatoes quicker than I had to get it, if that made sense. Kind of like a teacher. Teacher goes to school for years and then they come and they teach it palatable for their audience, their students. And they know more than they're teaching, their students, but it's only been put down, like it's only been, compressed enough so you can give it to that audience. And so with Saturn being in your third house, you are going to be tasked with that if you have not already. Excuse me. So it's about also being restricted in that area. So maybe you couldn't explore the things you wanted to learn. Maybe you couldn't travel outside of your local for some reason. You were restricted from being able to travel or from being able to speak your truth or something. It depends on what is the sign sitting in your third house. Also, like with siblings, so I'm the third child, I'm the baby, and I'm the only girl. And so with me having Saturn in the third house with my siblings, I always felt restricted because I had overprotective brothers. So that played in my life where as a child, even now, like I always have them at the back of my mind when it comes to me making a decision or something like about reputation, think about, Capricorn energy because it's ruled by Saturn to authoritism type of energy, like your boss, your husband, your father, your big brother. That what Saturn is. And I have big brothers that look over me since childhood. And so I've always restricted myself from thinking a certain way. I'm very outspoken, but there's certain things that don't agree with them. I'm very free. I'm a free thinker and I do bounce around with my ideas and things like that. I'm very eclectic, right? But I have brothers, both of them who are earth signs and I'm a fire sign. So I be talking Chinese to them. They be looking at me crazy sometimes, right? Because when the fire is lit, I am so passionate about something and I can talk about it. And when I exhaust all of that passion, I go mute too when I think about that. So Saturn, you may be a person that turns on and then turn off. So if it's something that's sparking you or you're learning at that moment, you have a lot of energy for it. And if it's not, you're kind of mute with speaking and communicating and things of that nature. But back to the siblings restrictions. But me having Saturn there and them keep being there and always at my mind and always being like the authority in my life, it has helped me from making bad decisions because I didn't do it. Maybe my friends was able to do without a care in the world because I had two older brothers that if it got back to them, I would be toast. So a lot of things I had to second think about at early age. A lot of things I could not do, even though I may have wanted to test the waters. I knew I couldn't because I got two brothers that I don't want that type of shit or nothing that's going to like ruin my reputation or ruin their reputation to get back to them. And so having that made sense to me when I found out I had Saturn in the third house. And it represented, it represented older siblings or siblings in general, but Saturn is older siblings, that give you like that parental guidance, parental, protection or whatnot. But yeah, so one good thing about Saturn is all of the conflicts or all of the bad things that you felt that were, difficult for you in your earlier age, it comes with ease and reward in your, after 30. So for instance, with me, I dropped out of high school, right? So I started being rebellious around 16 years old and supposed to be in school, but I started skipping, and then you know how that go if you had friends or you've done it. So I didn't get back to even thinking about my education till after 30. So I went back to college. I went back, got my high school diploma, and then I went to college, and I started college at 31. So that's a great example of Saturn in the third house, not getting, the clarity and mentally to go for your education until after your older age, after, those frontal lobes grow in, and you have that first Saturn return. That's when it seems like the learning comes easier, and speaking and, just expressing yourself a lot better comes easier after 30. Um, and there's a lot of lessons in between birth and 30 that helps you build that confidence that's needed, whether it's through hurt or just growing. It helps you. So when you get up to that age, it makes it flow a lot better than you had as in your childhood. Even with me at 30, I started having my full voice, speaking my truth, whether my brothers them liked it or not, because a lot of things I used to hold back and bite my tongue because I knew they wouldn't like it, whatever it is I'm gonna say. And just being mindful of that. And after 30, I stopped being so mindful of that and just speaking my truth and being respectful, of course, but just speaking my truth. And that didn't happen like that with ease until after 30. Even more now at 40. Like I'm teaching their ass. So it's amazing how Saturn, Father Time, does show up in your life, and you see the lessons, right? So right now, with us going through Saturn in retrograde, we're being asked for these next, for the next 6 months is it 6 months? For the next 10 months I think I'm doing too much. We're in month 7 and we go to 11. So yeah, for the next 4 months, we are actually being advised by the energy to go within and reassess, the things that we need to keep going on our journey, what needs to go, what we need to get more discipline in, and us with the third house, it's about learning something that is going to help us on our journey moving forward. So it's kind of like being more disciplined on whatever that is and learn everything you need to know and master that thing by being disciplined, showing up, and being consistent, and you will be rewarded, and you'll have more clarity after this retrograde period with your decision moving forward, in your learning or your speaking, moving, transportation, the third house themes that you may have trouble with. This is what retrograde is coming back to give you clarity for. And so also just not retrograde, Saturn retrograde, but we also got Mercury in retrograde. So that's Mercury, and we are Mercury, with the third house. So that just compounds that retrograde energy for us, because we already dealing with Saturn in retrograde in the third house, which is a Gemini house, right? And that's Mercury. And then we got Mercury going into retrograde as well. So a lot of thoughts and clarity, introspection is coming, for us to just go back over things, revamp, dissect, audit, and come through this retrograde with more clarity and more fire to move forward, like some confidence to move forward, because you have the clarity needed within this retrograde period. So that is my chat for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you have Saturn in the third house, let me know what sign do you have it in. Again, I have it in Libra. Let me know your sign down below. I'll see you guys in my next one. Until next time, peace, love, and happiness. Bye.